He wants Jefferson, climbs the ladder. Oh my goodness!
Hello, everyone. We are back for another Summer League slate. Rubes is not here. Rubes is off to Hawaii. He deserves it. Much needed vacation for my guy Rubes. I'm not sure if he'll be doing the projections. Maybe. I know he's got a pretty busy day, so we'll see. Anyways, without further ado, special guest today. You probably see him at the top of leaderboards. You probably see him tilting on Twitter. Mr. Jake Anderson, I'll bring you in first. How you doing today? How was the pickleball? And what do you think about this shit slate so far?
Doing good. Pickleball was great. A little too hot. Like you said, this slate is some shit. We'll see what happens here.
In a good way. I mean it in a good way.
Yes, this is great. This is like the best time for Summer League because it's a mess, and that's a good thing. Kurt, buddy, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I thought
I muted myself. Sorry, I did drinking my water, and it sounds like gadunk, gadunk, gadunk. Anyways,
that's what we want to hear. That's what the people are here for.
You want to hear the moaning in the background and everything like that. But Bobby, how was your last night? How are you interpreting the beautiful shit slate today? And how is your Saturday mojo?
Starting off with Saturday mojo, I completely fucked up the early slate. I pressed the wrong dude on Charlotte as I was scrambling at the end, and I fucked up my CSV. DK refunded me at least. So yeah, we're gonna move on from the early slate, but we got a fun day of NBA Summer League. Definitely gets to be more of a shit show as we go along, but I think the edge gets bigger when there's more ambiguity, and all of us have played Summer League for multiple years, so we kind of are with the flow and know what to expect. So I think it's going to give us an edge today. I wish the prize pools were a little bit bigger up top, but pumped for Summer League today. We got MMA, we got MLB going on. There's a whole bunch of sports and a whole bunch of money to win and stuff to gen on today.
For sure. That reminds me, guys, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Promo code going on over at the site, Summer 33, all sports one price. Good ass deal. Come try us out, especially the niche sports like Summer League. I don't know about you all, but usually earlier is when I kind of like do meh, and then later in Summer League is where I've had most of my success. So it's kind of weird to have the opposite this year, whereas like I got really hot early, and now I'm just kind of like I'm still not doing bad, but like I usually finish really strong. So I'm thinking it maybe happens these last 2 days. It also happened when they posted better showdown contest. Anyways, I still think that's what makes today so great because like so many people will just take DMPs that all those like 5%, 10%, that little shit adds up, and not that you're at a rake free contest. Now you're like almost overlay basically. It's not how many DMPs these people are getting. That's what I think of it. So let's dig into it. The first one, I don't love it too much because Milwaukee's been pretty aged with the rotation. But Bobby, I'll let you take it first. Talk about Milwaukee and Sacramento.
Yeah, this one I've got a little bit of interest. I mean, I think I know I have no interest in Mike Dom. That piece of shit cost me $15,000 the other night. So I'm definitely not playing him. I'm in Sabre right now. I'm literally going to X him out. I'm not dealing with him. I don't care if he starts. He's dead to me. I'm not playing Mike Dom. But I think I'm definitely got some interest in Jordan Ford and Keon Ellis in particular on the Sacramento side of things. Jordan Ford just looked really good last game, especially with Colby Jones going down, had a hard fall. I'm expecting him to miss today. Kessler Edwards has a decent price tag. So I've got some interest in Sacramento. They've been running like multiple bigs in the rotation for center in particular. So not a ton of interest at the center spot and trying to figure out too as we go along. If Colby Jones misses a little bit, going to have a few more minutes open up at the guard spot. So Sacramento looks okay. Milwaukee, the rotation was a little bit better last game. Lindell Wigginton, when he's had like big minutes when the Bucks did mass rest or in Summer League years past, he put up really big numbers, but he's just not getting the minutes. They're on a slight uptick, but I think they might just be kind of managing his minutes with a recent injury. So not a big fan of him. The starters all had better minutes last time. Like Andre Jackson looks okay. Marjon Beauchamp's probably going to be single digit owned. So I don't think that like if you're MMing the main contest or doing a bunch of lineups, I don't mind getting a little bit of him. And if it's the first game, so maybe we get a wonky starting lineup. But that's kind of what my thoughts are for this first one.
Yeah, I'm similar. One thing I do want to note before I pass to you, Jake, is the Kessler Edwards thing. I think when Colby Jones left, it started looking like he got a little more of the playmaking duty as far as like who was it? Who else was it that sat before Colby Jones? I don't know. Just for the first time all summer, it looked like Kessler started doing some more playmaking. I don't know how you interpreted that. It kind of makes me like him more today if Colby Jones sits. I know I had a Newt game from him just by luck of the draw last time. I had to swap off someone, went to him and got a 40 burger. But I don't like chasing, but I actually do think if Colby sits, he'll have like more the ball in his hands. So I'm kind of down with that. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, so I think Edwards was a really sharp play last game. His price also came down a ton. It's still at 5.9. Yeah, he got a lot more usage. The thing I'm worried about is I think if anyone sits, I mean, I think Edwards might be the most likely just because like he's actually played on the NBA team. So, you know, the only thing good about this game is that I think, I mean, we're maybe more likely to get news on it. I have a feeling that this game is probably going to be pretty owned just because the first games of the slates are always going to be owned because we get news on it. So people will probably play a lot of the guys in this game. I do think that there's some upside with guys like Wigginton. Like, I don't know that those guys are going to sit because they already sat at the front end. So there's going to be a lot of DFP teams today, but the Milwaukee might be the one team where the spend-ups actually play.
I think we might have I was all over Semantics yesterday. I thought they were kind of easing his minutes back, and I thought, man, if they could just let him get pushed up, because it was injury related, similar to Wigginton, like Bobby said. Is it a situation where we have the same almost, whereas the guy's playing 22, and then, okay, it was injury related, now he gets ramped up, and if Wigginton plays 28, does he put up a 40 burger like Semantics did last night? Maybe. I don't know.
And here's the other thing is, like, I think, you know, as we're going to go on with the show, if people who aren't familiar with this are going to find that these last couple of days, teams are going to, like, sit a lot of their main guys. So you're going to have a lot of like 4K guys starting on a bunch of teams. So if you can lock like 35 points from Wigginton, like that's kind of a big deal. At some point, you just got to start spending your money because you're going to have lineups that have like $5,000 left over otherwise.
Yes. And in the playbook, I mentioned that same thing I'm doing with Ford and like Keon Ellis. Like Keon Ellis feels gross at 8.4, but it's like, at what point you just lock in your 30 and move on?
Exactly. Yeah, I feel the same way about Ellis. He keeps playing well. I think he's overproducing. Yeah. But if you're going to get 28 to 30, that might be good enough on this slate.
You just kind of take it and run. Now, Bobby, before we go to the next game, this is a safe space. We heard you mention the King Centers.
Oh, I'm playing Dom.
We're playing Dom, but like, come on.
Fuck you guys.
Let it out. Like, oh, that's just so hurtful, man. You're going to get it. You know what? Like, it all comes full circle. You play Dom and ship with Dom today.
No, I'm mixing them up.
You ship the 5K. You're like, oh God, it's like not even worth it. Oh.
Still 10K to go to make up for that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next game, Washington, Chicago. I don't expect.
Sorry, Kurt. Before we jump to the next one, I know Jake, you mentioned Wigginton. So I think his minutes upticked like 3 minutes or so last game, and the rotation was slightly tighter. How much are you factoring in that the last game was a 20-point blowout? So I think there's like a couple minutes for some of the complete scrubs at the end of it. But if you had to give a minute projection for Wigginton, like what are you thinking? I'm kind of thinking mid-20s in minutes right now, but I don't know if that's not high enough, a little bit too high. I'm having a hard time thinking of how many minutes he's going to play. I'm leaning like 24, 25 right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like with every game, we're kind of waiting on news. So, you know, these last couple of days are going to be very, you got to be right on time, be paying attention to all the news. But without any other news, I assume mid-20s is probably a reasonable number, which is pretty good for, you know, a guy that, you know, as a good fantasy point per minute producer. So these Bucks starters, if they play, I like them.
Yep, I agree. I'm on the same thing. Like, I think, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow played 28 either. Like, what? It's undone.
No, I wouldn't either.
How much do they have invested in him, to be honest? Like, I'm not sure. I mean, like the Nuggets have like $7 million invested in Tyson. He just keeps playing 30 minutes every day. So anyways, we'll get to that later. Washington, Chicago. I personally think Washington runs like the same rotations. Chicago guys have looked really bad. I mean, Dallin needs to be out there for God's sake. So Jake, I'll leave it with you. How are you breaking down this game?
Yeah, man, I do agree that Dallin's going to be out there. He's been so bad, but again, just like with Wigginton, if you know that he's going to play and he's you know going to project for 30, he kind of is a decent play. I do think he's probably more likely than a lot of these guys in the later games to run out there. Yeah, I don't know about Freeman Liberty, but they don't have that much invested in me either. But I do wonder if they want to see some of these other scrubs because they haven't really played them very much.
It's been all summer league where it's just been those two playing 30, and then everyone else is playing like scraps, like 20 low 20s.
I think
Even
interesting if he gets a lot of time because he's been good points per minute. But yeah, I mean he actually could be somebody that gets more time, so I like him too.
And then I'm going right back to the Rollins train. I just think you keep playing. They're not going to raise his price. He should probably be 7K, honestly. I'm not for sure. But, yeah, so another 30 burger. He should be 7K. They're just not raising his price. I think Baldwin kind of had his nut game. He's just not aggressive enough for me to play, honestly. Like, he had six shots last game. Like, nah, I don't want that. I want someone who has the ball in his hands all the time like Rollins. So I'm going right back there. Chicago, like Jake said, I'll play some, like, Dallin Terry as a high-priced guy. Nate Darling finally saw 30 minutes, too. Bobby, we know you liked Dallin the other day. I've been kind of at least sprinkling him every day. Are you going right back to the Dallin train?
Yeah, I'm still gonna play some. I mean, again, to Jake's point too earlier in the show, just raw points are gonna matter when you've got, and we'll get to like the Memphis game in particular. But you also have a bunch of teams that are on back-to-backs today too, as we're getting later into summer league. So you're going to get a bunch of probably random 4K starters, and you got to be by your computer and ready to make some changes and stuff. So I think that Terry I think he's been shooting like just under 30%. Like he's been terrible shooting, and he's not a great shooter in itself, but he can fill up the stat sheet, get a decent amount of stocks, and put up a solid number, and could be someone that you want raw points wise. So I got a little bit of interest in him as more of a contrarian spend up. I was off Freeman Liberty last time. He's just so scoring dependent, but again, raw points, like I think he's going to play a bunch of minutes again if he starts. And if he gets hot shooting, like he could pay off that tag, but not going to be a priority. I'll probably be a little bit underweight on him. And the rest of Chicago doesn't look great to me. I mean, Darling's okay. Adama, I mean, they've had a kind of a weird center rotation too, but he's been pretty solid on a point per minute basis, so I don't hate him. And a lot of the other guys just don't really do it for me. I'll be pretty low on Chicago. I think Dallin Terry will be the guy that I get to the most, and Wizards should have similar rotation like you guys mentioned from yesterday. I think the big thing that we've got to look for that one, and we should get starters assuming we don't get OT in any of these early games, but Vukovic, if he returns, changes up that rotation a little bit at least.
Yeah, I'd like to see him. So wait, what?
You guys think Davis sits?
I don't think so. I think they want to get him reps. He's a younger guy. I don't even know if he's gonna they used to. I forget when they took him, but I feel like they actually invested a little bit of draft capital in him.
Maybe like 10-ish, 16.
No,
I was going to guess it was mid-round, first-round pick. So I don't know. I think they kind of want to get him reps, and I think he's another decent raw points guy. But I wouldn't be like shocked if he sat.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, I keep putting this up. Anyways, yeah, I projected them in. I projected them for like the same amount of minutes, maybe high 20s this time. But I think Kalabi, the French guy, I think he needs the reps for sure too. Not much interest in this game. So we're just going to go around the Boston, Orlando. I'm going to kind of give my quick takes on this. I think the Boston guys are eating into each other too much, and they don't have Banton still don't have Banton in the player pool. All these guys want to shoot a lot. They're just priced correctly. Now you throw in Banton, who's shooting a bunch. I just don't have interest. I just don't think you're going to have I don't think anyone from Boston is going to be on the optimal yet again. For Orlando, though, one rule I like is I'm playing one of these Orlando guards. I don't care who it is. You all mentioned we're going to have a lot of 4K random starters today. So knowing the guys who are fantasy point per minute monsters is what I like to think is a trait that I can do based off watching these guys in college and jerking to college every night, and also some EuroLeague. So like Sonogo, like you mentioned, if he plays 28 minutes, he's probably going to absolutely nuke. I don't care, even if he is priced up. Same thing here for Tiger Campbell. Had a bad game out. Quindari's going to be the chalk, but I think there's some of the other Magic guards I'm going to be rotating. I will have a rule to have one of these guys in every single lineup. Jake, are you on the bandwagon with these Orlando guys? Are you playing the Quindari chalk? Ew.
Okay, so this is where things are probably going to start to get wonky. So, because in my opinion, like what you said was a great point, that when all these guys start getting ruled out, the main thing to look at here is don't play the guys that are like 0.7 point per minute guys because they're just not going to get you past 20. And there's going to be a bunch of 4K guys who can get you 30, 35.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Orlando really sits a lot of people. Like, I don't think Wilson plays. Honestly, I don't know if Quindary plays. Maybe they bring everybody back, but I think you could see just like everyone ruled out. I don't know. I don't have any proof. I'm just guessing. Same thing for Boston. I think that most of I think Davison, some of these guys, they haven't sat anybody yet. So this seems like the prime time to get a lot of the kind of scrubbier players in. So I'm a little bit worried about Quindary. But I do think that if he's out, then Campbell becomes an amazing play because he's going to get a play time. Do you guys think that like Black, Wilson, Howard, all those guys sit, or do you think that they're going to come back and play?
They're done. I think this will be Wilson's first game setting. I think they're all done. Bobby, what do you think?
I think based on Wilson starting last game and playing only 13 minutes, I mean, the fact that he's still playing Summer League, I think
he
had to get stitches. Yeah.
Oh,
that's why he didn't play as much.
Okay, I missed that. I didn't subject myself to watching the Orlando match team play live. Okay, that makes sense. Either way, I mean, if he starts, maybe he gets like decent run, but he's been around for so long. I think they've probably seen what they need to see out of him. I'm not sure what they do with Quindary either. I think kind of the interesting thing though with the Magic in regards to Black, I think we saw like a picture of him being at like a Call of Duty event or like some type of like sponsorship thing. So I don't know for sure if they're shutting him down or if he just had like some type of like media obligation and they excused him for the game for that. So I think he's a little bit more dicey whether he's playing or not. I'm not 100% convinced he's shut down.
Well, let's put it this way: if those guys if those guys all sit, I think it's kind of like what do you do from there? So I think Baker is a good points per minute guy. I think Campbell kind of becomes de facto. Obviously, Quindary if he plays, and then everybody wanted to play that Soto guy last time. I do think he's probably going to be a pretty good point per minute guy, but you're going to have to wait on news. So this is kind of one of the games you really hope you get. But yeah, I think that we're going to see from both teams a lot of guys sit.
I think with Soto, like in lineups that I'm playing him, I'm just playing. I'm leaving 500. So if I play him, I'm leaving 500. That way I can play the Boston guy that has been starting. So I had the salary to do that because I don't want to be boxed in and play like some dude that's taking a 0. So I leave 400. If you want to play Soto, leave like 500 so you can get up to the ball. Alec Balsanowski. He's actually looked pretty good, by the way. Anyway, that's how I don't love this game too much, but I think I do want one of those guards. I'm just going on the assumption that those dudes are out. And I still think that if you play Quindary, and then if those other guys play, I think you'll still have one of these 4K guys that at least gets in the game. Okay, so like we're not
for sure. You can slot him in your lineup for now, and then swap off if you get news.
Exactly, that's what I'm doing with Quindary. Like I honestly do think he's more likely to sit, but I just know that I'll just swap right down to All Tiger, Tony, Dexter Dennis, those type of cats. All right, next game's pretty important. I think it's the most important game on the slate because we have the chalkiest guy. We got Denver, who is just obliterating since they just took Peyton Watson out of the lineup and played a shitty-ass LA team. Bobby, talk to me about Denver. Talk about this big 3.5 they have because I think Colin Gillespie's a cuck, so I'm counting him as 0.5. But, yeah, break down that and Hunter Tyson shooting 80% from 3.
I mean, yeah, Hunter Tyson's been lighting it up. He's got power forward and center eligibility, so there's just a lot of ways that you can work him into lineups too. We're going to need to spend money. So if he's playing again tonight, I mean, I think he looks fantastic. So Denver side, yeah, it looks Strother, Gillespie, Pickett, Tyson, like they all look good. I'd say too, I mean, we could get news that one of those guys is potentially sitting, but I'm banking at least so far that they're going to have pretty much the same type of rotation as last game. I think Amir Sims is an interesting guy. Like he's been pretty solid point per minute off the bench. And there's always risk playing bench guys in summer league, but it's the type of guy too where I think one thing that like kind of screwed me a little bit last night was I had a decent amount of McCoy for the Heat, thinking that Orlando Robinson was going to sit. I didn't have like a ton of great pivots, and it kind of messed up some of my lineups. But I think the way that the slate sets up today, if you're playing a decent amount of like Sims as like a 4K guy, in some ways he can be like a placeholder for you if like something better opens up and you keep some of the similar lineup constructions that you had early in the day, even if you're doing some late swap stuff. So I think I'm pretty big on the Nuggets starters, and I've got some interest in Sims on the Denver side. And then on the New York side, Charlie Brown's 6.6K after that game the other night or last night. He might be like the most popular player on the entire slate with how well he's been playing in Summer League as a whole. And the rest of the Knicks doesn't look great. And I mentioned him, I think, on the show that we did a few days back with Rubio, but Marcus Garrett's been pretty good in Summer League in the past, played for the Heat Summer League team before. And he's like a super low-owned guy that I don't mind mixing in MME.
I don't understand what I watched the game one with Marcus Garrett, and I just don't know what they're doing with like the minutes. The rotation's terrible. He doesn't look interested because he was like a slight hero for us with Miami, but I don't know I don't think he's very happy with the current situation. It just looks very meh. But at any moment, he could just randomly pop for like 30 minutes. One guy I'm kind of monitoring is QJ Peterson if he starts. And they like set some people because the guy just is the most like a ball hog of all ball hogs. Oh my God, the shot attempts is just crazy. If that guy started for 4.6, he could probably put a 35 burger. And everyone's like, who the hell is Peterson? Why do you get for 35? What are you doing with Charlie Brown, Jake?
Yeah, man, this is like, I don't know. He
this is your own personal hell.
Jesus Christ. Snoopy, Peanut, all these guys. Get them all out of there. I'll probably have some just because, like we were saying before, if I don't like playing a guy who just dropped 50 for no reason, but even if he projects for 30, just getting some of these guys that are going to project for 30 points is probably a big deal because you're going to get a lot of 4K guys. So I'm going to probably play him at least a little bit, but if he's going to be like 70, 80%, maybe there's some DNP risk there, but he's not like a real NBA guy either. So
yeah,
he probably plays.
You know who he kind of reminds me of, Jake, from earlier in Summer League? Tyrese Martin on the Hawks. Like, definitely not like the same player, but like his price just stayed the same, like with Martin. And now Charlie Brown went down. Everyone's going to look at his game logs and just load up on him. Like, I think Charlie Brown's probably going to be like 70, maybe even mid 70s in ownership. Like the ownership's just going to be insane on him. And
yeah,
I think
if he's got owned, I'm going to maybe get away, but I don't know. We're gonna have to wait.
I think he is. Just looking at people are so dependent on box scores in Summer League, and his price went down. He's gonna be crazy high owned.
Look at the position too. A lot goes into the fact that it's that small forward position that everyone's kind of just played the chalk because there's not many. I don't know. I would rather like Strother. I think I am just jamming these Denver guys, and Bobby mentioned Amir Sims. If these guys sit, I am totally fine leaving 3,000 on the table and working with what I have for the Memphis news and just playing Amir Sims, it's fine for me. So like when I'm very much valuing these guys that are like 8-7K that I know they're backups I can plug in and play and I've like Gregory Jackson we're going to get to. Play one Memphis guy and just play GG Jackson who will probably go for 40 if all the guys sets. Very much prioritizing these last 2 games doing that. Guys, any final words on this Knicks Denver situation? Do you want to
one more thing? I do think Strother is probably the most likely to play. I'm a little worried about Gillespie playing. I don't know. I think they might sit him. He's coming off like a pretty big injury, and they might want to try to get Pickett at the one just to try him out there because Pickett and Gillespie are both point guards. So I think Gillespie might be the most likely to sit.
That's a good point. I remember too, all throughout the regular season for NBA, writing up the playbook, which is like essentially like the main write-up for each NBA slate. Just every single slate, writing the people that are out for Denver, writing Colin Gillespie. His name so many times this year, not being relevant for fantasy, obviously.
He looked very uncomfortable. I watched the full game, their first time. He looked very uncomfortable. It seemed like he had no explosiveness. So it's nice that he's kind of got his stuff back. But maybe you're right, Jake. Probably time to be like, okay, look. You look healthy now. Let's not ruin that, especially since they've played this is the first hardcore basketball activity in a while, I feel like, as far as organized ball goes. I love Jalen Pickett. I think even if Gillespie plays, I think Jalen Pickett is going to drop a triple-double at some point in the summer league. He's going to flirt with it. It's going to happen. He's by far my favorite Nugget. I probably want to go – I'm going to have 100%. I'm going super aggressive with Pickett. And then I'm going Strother. And then Tyson's probably my third because he is a great shooter, but – come on.
Is he going to shoot 90% again from 3?
If we fade, he will. So, yeah, I love this game. Let's get on to a very fun game to talk about. The Suns are giant cucks of Summer League. And then the Memphis situation, which is very tricky. Bobby, let's go Bobby. Break down this Memphis Suns game.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt, you and I were DMing about it a little bit earlier today. Like the Memphis played before Vegas too, so like some of these guys were actually playing a little bit of like regular season. Like David Roddy played a little bit in the playoffs, um, and now I think what did we look at? They've played like 7 games in 14 days or something ridiculous. So
Yeah.
it's a back to back. Like we're getting later into summer league. It's like the perfect spot for the Grizzlies to sit guys. Um, I wouldn't be like, and especially too, just from a narrative perspective, they've been looking bad, and then last night they looked pretty good and beat the Lakers. So maybe the coaches are thinking, all right, we finally saw something from these guys. They've played a bunch. Like we're going to finally let them rest. And historically, the Grizzlies, I feel like they've not been one of those teams that gives us a lot of the news early. So I think it's going to come down to the wire with the Grizzlies too. So I think you've got a bunch of, to Kurt's point, good pivots where you can still just load up on the bench guys, and it doesn't like salaries. Not as like salary is basically irrelevant to a degree with summer league today, especially when you've got all these cheap starters that'll likely filter in. So I'm happy to be fairly heavy on some of the Memphis stuff and just be able to pivot. And Phoenix is on a back-to-back as well. And last time we saw Phoenix on a back-to-back, Camera sat. So I'm expecting him to sit again. And we'll be leaning on the rotation from the last game that he sat, and think that Phoenix rolled out something similar, but Phoenix isn't going to be like a super high priority for me tonight.
Yeah, so the last time he sat, Jake, we had our EuroLeague son, Luis Olinde, start. I don't think we're going to have much exposure to him. So hand up,
Did he put up any fantasy points?
He had like 2 in the first half, and he ended up actually salvaging it for the night slate. I don't know what he ended up, but it wasn't terrible. He was like, yeah, he got 22 in 29 minutes.
Oh, wow, okay.
Not terrible. Hand up, I've been DMing a lot of people about this Memphis situation today. Jake, I've also been DMing you about it. Talk about some of the shit that we talked about with what you think they do. I think you think they do something more aggressive. You think they set Gilliard and everybody.
I think all 5 guys in the starting lineup sit. I think that Ferrari, Jackson, and Hurt are very good plays. They'll have 9 guys available if all 5 sit, maybe 8 actually. One guy might not be with the team. So I'm going to be pretty heavily exposed to this team. Like Bobby said, there's no reason you can leave $4K on the table in summer league. Just get guys that play. Don't worry about using every single dollar of salary. If you have to make swaps later, that's fine. If you leave $4K on, don't worry about it. It's going to happen. I'm going to have a lot of lineups like that. So I'm going to be playing a lot of these guys because some of them are going to be 4K and they might project better than a lot of like the 8K guys in early games. So I'm going to have a lot.
Here's the good thing about, let's say they do that and Memphis has 9 guys. I know 2 guys that will get minutes that will not take up any usage. Jake, we know Tariq Babarovich played for Ferner. He just doesn't do anything. Just sits in the corner and play defense. That's a guy that will not be taking the ball from anyone that you want to play. And then also Nathan Hoover, who has already shown that he's played minutes and will not require anything. So there's 2 guys that will be in the rotation that won't take away from anyone that you're wanting to play from this team, which I think is a big boost to playing. Maybe if we get early news, playing 2 of these guys, like Jackson and Frankie Ferrari even.
Right.
Or I really like Matthew Hurt, because Matthew Hurt feels like someone who will be aggressive, will do a bunch of different things, stuff the stat sheet. He did it at Duke, so I like that too. I don't know who the other one would probably be for them besides those 3.
Yeah, I mean, we can just wait for the starting lineup news. I think Hurt, he was like 0.9 in G League, but he's playing with a lot better players than he'd be playing with tonight. The other guy was like this Timmy Allen, Ayaye, which probably shoot a lot, but I don't think he's going to start. I don't even know if that Muhammad guy's with the team. So I think, you don't need to be playing the guys off the bench from this game. Just kind of focus on starters, but we might not get news. I think Ferrari, Jackson, and Hurt are probably the 3 safest and best plays.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed there. All right, guys, we give you 30 minutes to still work on your stuff. Let me just go ahead and give everyone's favorite play. Mine's going to be Tiger Campbell. I'm assuming everyone for Orlando's out. Jake, what do you got for us?
Oh, boy. Probably either Jackson or Ferrari from Memphis.
Ooh, Ferrari. Bobby, hit us with it.
I like the Ferrari call. I mean, he spent some time on the Kings Summer League team last year, and it was pretty good for us in DFS. Yeah. So I'm going to actually I'll go a little bit different, and I'm going to say Jordan Ford's my favorite spend. Not like super expensive, but I thought he just looked awesome against the game in Minnesota, and I obviously had a sweat, so I watched that one pretty closely down the line. So I'm going to say Jordan Ford's one of my favorite plays there, and I'm with Jake. I think that I think the Memphis stuff is potentially what's going to win you the slate. Like, it just makes no sense for those starters to play. It's a late game, and I think we're going to get good ownership on it. But if you want one more contrarian play, I'm a believer that Dallin Terry is going to have one of those random games where he has like a 10-10-11 game and like 4 stocks or something like that. Just put up like a big summer league score or DFS score. I'm a believer.
Let's go. I like it. Before we get out here, I want to mention 2 things. Two Nice said that Ellis sat the last year in the final game. I think I remember that being in a showdown. I was pretty tilted about that. I could see it, honestly. No, I wouldn't be surprised. So we got to monitor that. I think we should get them. And then the last here it was. Yeah, the last Cali game. They sat all their guys. So
yeah, I mean, it wouldn't even shock me if like you could have any of these teams. Like the Kings could randomly sit all 5 guys. So you really got to be everything we said so far might not even matter. We might just need to be paying attention to news. So that's kind of how these last couple slates go.
And sometimes it's not even guys who are like on the NBA team. Sometimes it's like they'll just sit anyway. They want to get one last chance to look at some other dude. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button, please, for me. Jake, I appreciate you coming on. Bobby, I appreciate you taking the time. Let's all be holding hands and like jerking each other off at about 12 o'clock when Memphis is playing and we're winning all the monies. Good luck, everyone. I'm going to go over here and awkwardly run the outro.
We can do that even if we don't win.
We can. We could do that.
Just guys being dudes.
Yeah. On a Saturday, because Saturdays are for the boys. Here's the credits. Boom.